What's up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns with you as the Bears look to head to Chicago West, where it'll be a home game against the LA Chargers this weekend. You ready, Johns?
It's a home game for everybody out there, I feel like. Except the Chargers.
But I think there's certain teams, like I'd say the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Packers,
Eagles.
Like when they go in there, especially to play the Chargers. Yeah, the Eagles would probably qualify too. It's there might as well not be Charger fans there.
Big stadium, 100,000 seats, half full of Bears fans.
And nobody will enjoy that more than our friend Patrick Finley, former Chargers fan, who I don't really know where he falls on that.
I think where's our friend Patrick Finley?
I think he's over it. Pat Finley, Chicago Sun-Times, Bears beat reporter, San Diego native.
San Diegan.
Is that from Anchorman?
Kind of. I think I might have butchered it a little bit, but yeah.
Anyway, who cares?
Welcome in, Adam Hoge, Adam Jahns here. Follow us on Twitter. Also, our show account at Hoge Jahns. And you can find all our merch up at hoganjahns.com. Got some new stuff up there. The winter hats. Winter is coming. You're going to want to order those now. Maybe you'll have them by next week when I saw one day the high is like 39. So it's 70 out right now. It'll be 39 before you know it. All the winter hats are up there. We got some new styles as well. Check those out. Of course, hoodies. And if you're still in the golf season. I had some people tweeted me yesterday. They're still playing golf. We still got the polos out there. Order those as well. So, all right. I know, John, you want to talk about Darnell Wright here off the top a little bit. Some concerns about his injury situation. What are you concerned about?
Well, his left arm, his left shoulder. Because I know you watched the film closely. He, on some snaps, looked like he was playing with one arm and still moving massive human beings with his right.
Yeah, there was one very impressive play.
Max Crosby, right? Where he's driving him with his just right arm and his left arm looks dead.
Yeah, he takes his right arm and just like kind of moves Crosby like 10 yards over to the left, clearing a path, which is definitely one of those football-gasm moments.
Football-gasm, yes.
For me, where I'm like, oh, that was cool.
It's getting inappropriate here, but okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's a great play.
But then you come down from that, right? And you're like, oh no, he's actually really hurt. Yeah. And this is probably not great.
So on that scramble from Tyson Bagent and completion to DJ Moore, I think like for 15 yards, if you watch that play, Darnell Wright trips over the right leg, right foot of it's Tevin Jenkins right there, right guard. So he trips over him and gets shoved too at the same time. So he goes down. Looks like he's like shot by a sniper. Just goes down. Yeah. And then he gets up, slowly holding his left arm. So something went wrong for him physically on that play. He just tripped, but didn't feel right getting up on it.
And then later he gets stepped on, which I believe is the toe injury. He ended up on the injury report yesterday. It said shoulder and toe, and I noticed that on film too, that he was stepped on. So I'm just assuming that's where the toe injury happened. So guys beat up. I think there's a lot of things to love about Darnell Wright right now. I think he's been the Bears' best offensive lineman through this season so far. And it'd be great if they can get Braxton Jones back out there this week. I don't know if he's going to come back that fast, but it'd be great. I mean,
Tevin Jenkins did.
Yeah. I think it's on the table. But you also don't want to lose Darnell Wright at the same time. So it'll be interesting how they manage him. It did not surprise me. He did not practice yesterday. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't practice today, too. But you also want to be careful there, right? Like, you don't want to do long-term damage to a rookie that looks pretty damn promising right now.
Yeah, very promising. Very promising. I mean, if you just look back at his film from week 1 until now, I mean, his fundamentals have improved. The power, the natural athleticism is there. I know everybody still, some people get bent out of shape about the Jalen Carter pick, but the Bears got a good one in Darnell Wright. Really good player right there.
Yeah. Well, both can be true. Both players can be really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think both Both teams should be happy about the players that they ended up with. And Jalen Carter missed a game too. And then he came back, and I think he got a pressure on the very first play last week. Darnell Wright's looking like a great pick. There's no question about it. And at the same time, because he's that important, you want to make sure he's healthy. And especially when you got a young rookie quarterback out there. That's another thing. Like, let's say Darnell Wright can't play this week. Braxton Jones returns. Well, now Larry Borum's got to go over to the right side, right? But that's the job of being a swing tackle. And I think they got by okay with Larry Borum out there at left tackle. I mean, it certainly could have been worse. I think he did the job of a swing tackle. It's not going to be perfect. But also you can say all that and be like, he's still kind of the weak link on the line. So it'll be good to get Braxton Jones back if they can do that. Anything else before we want to jump into our Chargers preview here?
No, let's talk Tyson Bagent here soon.
Okay, we'll get into some Bagent stuff. But first we got to talk about Herbert. Justin Herbert, where this Chargers team is at. Our old friend Brandon Staley, somewhat on the hot seat here, it looks like, in Los Angeles. Daniel Popper, who's been on the show before, he covers the Chargers for The Athletic. This is another West Coast interview. So Johnsy handled it yesterday. I mean, what is it like in the Athletic contract that West Coast writers can't wake up early with us?
Yeah, I barely wake up early for us.
Well, that's true, but come on. I think if you are a West Coast reporter, you should know by now that, especially not even for Chicago. Like, what about these guys what about in Philly or New York? Like, wake up at 5 a.m. and do these interviews.
Yes, make it work for us.
Come on, we're slacking here. No, it's all good. There's a thing called the record button, and you can pretty much do anything at any time now. So Johnsy had a conversation with Daniel Popper yesterday, and here you go.
All right, let's bring in Daniel Popper, the Chargers writer for The Athletic. You can follow him on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Daniel R. Popper, Popper. Daniel, what's going on?
Not too much. Thanks for having me.
So here in Chicago, we have, Tyson Bagent. He is the Bears' undrafted rookie Division II starter. Justin Fields doesn't look like he's about to play. But question for you, what the heck is going on with Justin Herbert?
Yeah, kind of worked through the offensive issues in a piece I wrote yesterday for The Athletic. He's got this fractured finger in his non-throwing hand. And I think initially you look at it, you say non-throwing hand shouldn't be an issue. But it's clearly on his mind, and I think that's impacted sort of how he's playing. I mean, he's been under 60% completion in only 13 games in his career. 3 of them have come in the last 3 games since he suffered that injury in the second half against the Raiders. The way he's handling the football under center is an issue. The way he's handling the football after taking shotgun snaps is an issue. And as we know, like covering the league, like at quarterback, you're talking about tenths of a second, less than that. And that time matters. And so if you're second guessing how you're holding the football when you catch a shotgun snap, that's going to potentially throw off your accuracy. It's going to potentially throw off how you're dealing with pressure. So that's been a little bit of an issue. The other thing you have to look at is he's been the most pressured quarterback in the league since Corey Linsley, ended up on the non-football illness list after week 3. So we're talking about these last 3 games where we've seen the offense sort of stumbling. He's been pressured on over 45% of his dropbacks. No team has a higher pressure rate over that span. So, one of the things that's made Justin Herbert great early on in his career is how he's able to mitigate pressure. He has a very low sack to pressure rate despite the amount of times he's pressured. But it's getting to him, and it's impacting them in third down situations, and it's impacting them in these end of game situations that have obviously become a talking point as he hasn't really been able to get it done in some of those 2-minute situations. The third thing I would bring up, and sorry for the long-winded answer, but you know, everything with football is nuanced when you're talking like about general questions like this. They can't run the ball consistently. And so you have a team that's given up a ton of pressure related to that as the fact that they can't run the ball and they can't get opposing defenses off balance. I think that really came to the forefront against Dallas, who I think has the best front in the league. They couldn't run the ball against Dallas, and those pass rushers teed off, and it was really, really ugly. And so if you can't run the ball, your quarterback's uncertain in a finger, and you're giving up a ton of pressure, like that'll lead to a downturn in performance. And then I think we've seen Justin Herbert miss some throws that he usually doesn't doesn't miss. And I think you can sort of pin some of that on the finger, but some of it on just, not performing.
Have they considered giving him like a week off, like time to feel right, get right? Doesn't sound like that's like the type of player he is, but just for the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's no. The answer to that is no, because their other option is Easton Stick. And so, Justin Herbert at 75% is still a better option. I mean, I go back to last year, the guy had fractured rib cartilage, which just sounds like the most painful injury. And he played through that and didn't miss a snap. I think a lot of people in the building, with what Justin went through last year with that rib injury, I think they felt like it built a lot of character in him, forcing him to work through that kind of adversity. I remember talking to the former quarterbacks coach at the end of the year and saying, like, this was really necessary for Justin's development as a quarterback. And so, it's affecting him, but I think part of it is that he just has to learn how to play with it. And then you're going to see some more consistency. So they're not considering that. I think it's a situation where they're like, he's just got to sort of figure it out, because we don't have, options behind him that are going to give us as good of a chance to win football games.
And I know it's early, 6-7 games, just one preseason training camp together, but that pairing with like Kellen Moore, I thought it was like, wasn't it highlighted a lot, like in the buildup of this year? Like, this could work out, like some grand things. He could take the next step in his career. Like, what are you seeing thus far? Through almost the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing schematically. I like what I'm seeing creatively, I should say. I think he's a good coordinator. The problem is, they built this offense with a certain vision in mind. And part of that vision was, okay, we're going to really major in 11 personnel and use these 3 really good receivers that we have between, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer. Mike Williams goes down with the torn ACL in week 3, and now everything kind of changes. They have a first-round receiver in Quentin Johnston. They're trying to figure out, the best way to use him, how to get him on the field. I don't think they're using him particularly well, which is one knock that I would put against Kellen Moore and the coaching staff in general. But you lose a guy like Mike Williams, and all of a sudden you have to change how you want to attack defenses. And so they're kind of working through that. Is the best grouping 11 personnel with Quentin Johnston in there with Palmer and Allen? Maybe. Is it 12 personnel, where you can get Donald Parham and Gerald Everett on the field at the same time? Maybe, but they don't really have the run blocking from their tight ends. It was an issue last year. They did nothing to bolster that group, and it's still an issue. And so, you're in 12 personnel. Maybe you like that group of pass catchers better, but you have to be able to run the ball out of 12 personnel, because it's got to be deception and play action to be successful out of that grouping. And so I think they're sort of working through all of that right now to sort of figure out, the best way to move forward and what's the best grouping. And like, I'll go back to Corey Linsley, and listen, like, a lot of people will get on me because it's like, no one wants to hear about injuries, but they matter. Like, it's impossible to talk about teams' performance without bringing up some of these injuries. Because when you go from an all-pro level center, one of the smartest centers in the league, to, a replacement level player and Will Clapp, like, that matters. It does. And like, you cannot,
there's a ripple effect. Absolutely.
You cannot avoid talking about it. Like, the way I frame it is, like, to me, there's differences between explanations and excuses. I've written about this before. I'm not saying that it's an excuse for how they're playing, but it certainly is an explanation, for how they're playing. And so when you lose all of that, and your quarterback's like losing confidence in his physical abilities because of this finger injury, like, that's all going to matter. But from a structure standpoint, schematic standpoint, like, I think it's sound. I think it's good. I've seen a lot of creative play calling. I've seen him, trying different things. The next step, the next iteration for me is like, get your first round receiver involved. Like, everybody knew coming into the season, based on Quentin Johnston's college tape, that he was not going to be an elite route runner. He was raw, and he was going to need some time to develop the nuance to play receiver in the NFL. But what he does have is tremendous explosive ability with the ball in his hands. And so there's an easy way to maximize his talents. Like, get him on crossers, get him on digs, get him on slants, get him on jet sweeps. Instead, he's running, like, through week 6, like 40% of his routes were goes and posts, which is like, yeah, he can get to that part of the field, but like, you're not really taking advantage of his skill set. And so I think they need to get him more involved. I think 11 personnel is the answer. And I think it's find a way to really maximize Quentin Johnston's explosive traits through the schematics. And I think that's sort of the next step in iteration that I think a lot of Chargers fans want to see from Kellen Moore.
So on the other side of the ball, to use my phrasing of the first question, like, what the heck is going on with Brandon Staley's defense?
It's bad. Like, it's just bad, straight up. Like, year 3 was supposed to be the step for this group. The Chargers spent more cash on their defense than any team in the NFL in 2022. It never really came to fruition because of injuries. You had J.C. Jackson, rupture his patellar tendon in week 7. Joey Bosa tore his groin in week 3. And so you can sort of use that as an explanation. But this was the year. Like, it had to come together. Brandon Staley was hired in part because of what he did with that Rams defense and because he was seen as this visionary defensive coach. And they're worse now than they've ever been in Brandon Staley's tenure on an EPA per play basis. Like, that's just, it's hard to look at that and say, like, yeah, this is working and this guy is giving us an advantage on the defensive side of the ball. They're 31st in EPA per play, 31st in EPA per drive. And the real issue is the pass defense, which is what he's supposed to specialize in. They're not connected on the back end. I think their linebackers are struggling in coverage. And it's really led to like a ton of explosive plays and a ton of lapses on the defensive end. I think they're pressuring the quarterback okay. I think the run defense is good, but they're just lost in coverage right now. And they need to figure out how to simplify all of this and get these guys playing a little bit faster, because it just looks like there's a ton of confusion on the back end with the variety of and complexity of coverages. And it's allowing every team to absolutely destroy them in the passing game. And I think the biggest issue is, like, when you go in as a defensive football coach, like, you want to take away what the other team does best, but they keep getting hit with what the other team does best. Whether you look at Tyreek Hill going off for 200 plus yards, you go, Justin Jefferson had 150, CeeDee Lamb had 117. Travis Kelce had 179. Like exactly what the other team's going to do. And whatever plan you're coming up with is not doing enough to take away the other team's right hook. And you're just getting hit with it over and over and over again. It's a big reason why they're 2-4.
So if you have DJ Moore on your fantasy team, you're expecting big things this week. I take it against the Chargers defense.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if history this season has told us anything, it's that what the other team's best receiver is going to go off.
So Staley's like an interesting conversation here in Chicago, because when we last saw him, I know we've brought this up in conversation before, the Bears former outside linebackers coach under Vic Fangio. Just like out of curiosity, like, how is he handling it? Maybe the pressure here, having only 2 wins, right? Only 2 wins this season so far in a year where everyone maybe, thought maybe deep playoff run or even Super Bowl. Like, how is he handling everything?
Yeah, I mean, you're right on it. Like, those were certainly the expectations from ownership. Like, make the playoffs, compete for the AFC West, win a playoff game. Like, I think that was sort of the bare minimum. They're out of the division. It's not even Halloween. Like, the Chiefs are 6-1. They're 2-4. They've already lost the Chiefs. And I think you look at the rest of the schedule and it's like, I just don't see any way that they can contend for the division. And I think considering those expectations, there's obviously pressure on everyone. There's pressure on Brandon Staley. There's pressure on general manager Tom Telesco, who's in his 11th season. He has 2 playoff wins. And that pressure is going to affect how people operate. I think he's handling it well, all things considered. But like, it has to start producing results. And so, like, what I want to see is, like, okay, like, Brandon Staley as a defensive coach in terms of his philosophy really believes in complexity, right? Tons of disguise, tons of pre-snap and post-snap rotation, a ton of different kinds of coverages, pattern match, zone, single high, 2 high, rotations, all this different kind of stuff. It on a whiteboard, I'm sure it looks sterling, absolutely perfect, fantastic. But can your players execute it? And I think what we've seen in 3 years is that it's very difficult to execute this defense at a high level when you don't have premium players like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. And so I think he's handling it well, to answer your question, but he needs to come to terms with the fact that, like, a simpler version of this defense is going to allow his guys to play better. And that's really what happened at the end of last year when they won 4 games in a row, made the playoffs really on the back of their defense. He really simplified things, leaned into the coverages that his players could really play at a high level, and it led to success. And I think that's what needs to happen right now, or else this season is really going to spiral out of control if it hasn't already.
Well, Khalil Mack is supposed to be a premium player, right? I mean, that's what the contract says. That's what history says. But he had 6 sacks in 1 game against Aiden O'Connell, correct? Against the Raiders. Yep. And then he has 1 sack in the other game. Is like, what are you seeing? Like, what are the Chargers getting from Mack at this stage in his career?
Yeah, when they made that trade, the way I sort of framed it was, if they could get 85% of the player Khalil Mack was at his best, it's still worth the trade. And I think over the course of these 2 seasons, I think he's been that. 85% of that is not, it's not like top 5 slam dunk, top 5 edge rusher, right? I don't think that's what he is anymore. But I think he's defended the run really well. I think he's shown a capacity to influence the game as a pass rusher. But the pass rush overall just didn't show up against the Chiefs. I don't think you can pin that exclusively on Khalil Mack. I just don't think any of them rushed well. They didn't create enough pressure, and they certainly did not keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. When I look at this defense, I don't consider the pass rush a big weakness. I actually consider it a strength, and I think a big reason for that is their rookie Tuli Tuipulotu has come on as like a legitimate player, and they're able when they can stop the run and get to third and long, second and long, they can bring this package on the field with Joey Bosa, Tuli Tuipulotu, and Khalil Mack, with Tuli kind of moving around as a little rover piece and kind of finding the one-on-one matchups. That's been highly, highly successful. Like you're talking about in terms of pressure rate, like the second best, four rusher grouping in the league. Like they're producing pressure over 50% of the time. Their sack rate's 25%. So like I think that the pass rush is good enough. I think Khalil Mack has been sort of what they expected when they traded for him. Like I didn't think they were expecting him to be defensive player of the year, but I think he's really been 85% of what he was at his best in his career. The issue is on the back end, and you're going to have up and down games in terms of pass rushing, especially when you go up like a decent offensive line like the Chiefs, and especially when you go up against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, who's really good at alleviating pressure and then turning those plays into explosives. So I think he's been fine. The issue defensively is really on the back end, figuring out how you tighten up the coverage and come up with a plan that your players can execute in the back end.
You mentioned Bosa, like another big name. If you had to put like a percentage on him, Khalil Mack at 85%, like where is Bosa, I guess, in relation to what his star power used to be, or have the injuries just changed him forever?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because Bosa tore his groin in week 3 of last year, had surgery, sat out most of the season, came back in week 15, week 16, and he talked to reporters in the locker room that week for 15 minutes, just saying like, I've had serious problems in my core, abdomen, groin area for most of my career. I had issues on both sides. It was chronic pain. It was preventing me from working out the way that I wanted to work out. I feel now like this is all fixed, and I feel better than I've felt in a long, long time, probably since I was like a rookie or my second year in the league. And so you hear those types of things from a player and you're like, wow, okay, this could really mean, a resurgence, right? And then he injures his hamstring in week 1. He breaks his toe and someone steps on him in week 3, and he's not even playing a full-time role right now. Like you guys, when you watch the game on Sunday, you'll likely see Tuli Tuipulotu starting the game and playing the bulk of snaps. And right now, Bosa's kind of in like a rotational role. Now, it's because of injuries. But that's, I think, very disappointing for the organization because they're paying him a ton of money. And at the end of the day, people can sit here and say that Khalil Mack isn't the player that he was, but he's been out there for every single game, and he's been playing 85-90% of the snaps every single game, and he hasn't missed time. And that's a really important thing. It's a cliche, but it's true. Availability is the best ability, and that has not been the case for Joey Bosa, especially over these last 2 years. And when you're talking about his performance, I think you sort of have to start there.
So Justin Herbert is struggling. The Chargers defense might be really bad. A lot of questions in the secondary, and yet they're 9.5-point favorites. I think, right? 8, and it was 9.5 last I saw it against the Bears. I know it's Wednesday. I'm recording this at Hallis Hall. Tyson Bagent still is yet to speak this week. But when you look at this matchup, what do you see and what do you think?
Yeah, I think 9.5 is a lot. I'm not a betting man, but feels like a lot. I mean, the Chargers just tend to play in these close games, and they make too many mistakes in all 3 phases to really separate in that manner. Even when they've been able to create double-digit second-half leads this year and last year, I don't want to bring up Jacksonville, but it's been a theme. They just tend to, lack the type of complementary football necessary to really separate and close games out. It's been a theme of this season specifically that when the offense is playing well, the defense is struggling. When the defense is playing well, the offense is struggling. When both defense and offense are playing well, the special teams, comes out and gives up a 50-yard punt return that flips the game. And so, I'm expecting a tight game. I'm going to expect a tight game against every team this year, just because I haven't seen what I need to see from the Chargers to really separate and close games out. And I think all of the issues that we've discussed here over the last 17 minutes plus, I think you can't look at the Chargers and say, despite all the talent, that they're a team that can really separate and blow a team out. And so, I would expect it to be close. I mean, you go back to the Raiders game, right? Aiden O'Connell was making his first career start, and they were 3 yards away from tying that football game up. They needed an interception from Asante Samuel Jr. So to close that game out. And so it doesn't really matter who's on the other side. The Chargers are going to play in close games because they really lack consistency in all 3 phases.
So they are. I just double checked it. 8.5. currently on
It feels
Wednesday.
like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if it moves a bit. Daniel, thank you so much. We'll be sure to check out your stuff this week, for the build-up for the Chargers-Bears game on Sunday night. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
Adam, I think what struck me most is that you still have like this electric, outstanding young quarterback, and yet things can be quite bad, can't they? When the defense isn't doing its job, the offensive line isn't working, at injuries and whatnot. So just interesting conversation. If you look at Justin Herbert's last 3 games, they're not good. Look at the pass ratings. They're not good at all. They're struggling. And yes, I think every team, most teams, except maybe 5 or 6, would take Justin Herbert as their quarterback. But if the situation is bad around them, it takes really special players in the right moments of their career to overcome a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and you can just kind of tell that things are in flux there in LA. And I can't imagine what it's like to have a quarterback of Herbert's caliber, and he got paid already, right? Like, so he's already got the big contract, and he's struggling the way he is. Now, he does have that injury on his left hand. It's not his throwing hand, but he's got that weird, like, kind of glove that goes over his banged up middle finger that clearly has a splint on under it. So less under center kind of limits some of the things you can do. I don't know how much that's affecting him or whatever. Mike Williams being out. But all that being said, I look at the roster, I'm like, there's a lot of good players on this team, and even on that offensive line, like Rashawn Slater, to me, is still one of the best linemen. But it's like, why are they not getting more out of them? And defensively, since that's Brandon Staley's specialty, like they really seem to struggle in zone coverage and confused on where they're supposed to be.
They seem to struggle in general. 31st passing defense in the league.
Yeah. Travis Kelce was mic'd up last week, and that was last week when they played the Chargers, right? Yeah, that was the last game. And he called out at the snap, cover zero. And then they beat it. And then I forget which DB was on him, but he's like, how'd you know that was 0? He's like, I've been here a long time, man.
Did you see the clip of him barking at the Chargers defense after a run play?
Oh, yeah. Literally barking.
Yes.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, not barking like talking smack. Literally barking. All right. Should we get to our big question?
3 big questions. Number 1. What type of performance would it take from Tyson Bagent for you, Adam Hoge, to think that the Bears might have a good old-fashioned QB controversy on their hands? Give me some numbers.
Well, look, you got to go over at least 200 yards.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, maybe a lot more like 250. But I'm not sure the numbers really matter. Like, I think all this is going to take, if we're being honest, is the Bears to win again.
How about a 2-minute game-winning drive where Cairo Santos comes on and kicks like a 35-yard field goal for the win, but it starts on the Bears' own 25, and Tyson Bagent completes 3 or 4 passes in prime time, in the most important moments of the game, to get them in field position for the win. Like, what would that mean to him, mean to the Bears, and what would that do to the conversation around town here?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, essentially, by doing that, he would be doing what Fields has mostly failed to do. And I think there has been a couple of games where Fields has put him in position to win, and either Darnell Mooney drops that pass against Washington last year, or he doesn't get the help he needs, like he should have had the win in Pittsburgh 2 years ago. But at the end of the day, this is about winning. This is about executing a game plan. And to me, it's not necessarily about the numbers. It's just about putting your team in position to win the football game. And so, don't turn the ball over again. operate the offense, even if he's like basically he's just like kind of game managing. That's basically what he did last week. But if it results in a big W on Sunday night, like I was wrong. I think Sunday when I said if they go beat the Chargers, it'll lead every ESPN show the next day about how the Bears have a quarterback controversy. And that started last Monday.
Yeah.
I woke up Monday and they were already talking about it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I
not
didn't know
not
anybody
just here
was
locally, not just here locally, but
who was
yes.
paying attention to this Bears Raiders game. I didn't expect that, and that they were still like even Monday, like they're talking about it all over the place. So that I think it just comes down to the W. Now, the follow-up question, right, is there really a quarterback controversy? And if Fields, Bears win Sunday night, Bagent plays well, but Fields is ready to go against the Saints. Fields is playing against the Saints. There's no question in my mind about that.
Can I give you some numbers before the next question? So
No.
opposing quarterbacks are averaging a 68.3 completion percentage against the Chargers defense, 310 passing yards per game, 2 touchdown passes per game, and a 105.6 passer rating against them. So, just saying, the numbers could be pretty good for Tyson Bagent. Number 2, are you buying or selling the Bears' recent success on defense?
I'm buying it to a point. Like, I don't think this defense is going to, become the 2018 Bears under Vic Fangio, at least not this year. And I don't think really overall that's going to happen either. Like, if you go back and really look at Flus' defenses in Indy, like they were top 10 worthy, but they weren't, this is the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah. I think one year he was top 5, right?
Yeah, maybe. But I do think that there's a legitimate trend here. Now, have they played the best quarterbacks? Not necessarily. But as much as I get on your guy, Kirk Cousins, I mean, he sure put up a lot of numbers against the 49ers the other night. And the Bears shut him down too. So I am definitely buying this recent success. I think it's trending in the right direction.
I'm with you. There's enough data to tell you that the Bears are good at stopping the run. Obviously, they need to shore up the pass defense, but the secondary is finally at close to full strength.
Well, I'm still not buying their ability to get after the quarterback.
No, that's true. That's true. Number 3, if you're GM Ryan Poles, would you pursue any players? Not trade any players. Pursue any players in a trade. How about a pass rusher?
Yeah, I mean, if it's the right price, I would definitely not give up a first-round pick or anything. Second-round pick, I can be talked into that. Like, what do we think Daniil Hunter's going to go for? Vikings did a divisional trade last year with the Lions.
Yeah.
For Hawkinson.
If you get a sense that the Raiders are entering rebuild mode, would you part with the second-round pick for Max Crosby a little bit more?
Oh, that's going to take more than a second-round
You
pick.
think so?
Yeah. Dude, Crosby's quietly one of the best there is. He's got some weaknesses to his game. He tends to over-pursue a little bit and get out of position. But
he works his tail off every snap.
Yeah. No, that's at least a first rounder to me. Boy, if the Raiders have to do that again. Did they already pay him though?
Yeah. So you're getting his contract too.
Yeah.
But the Bears don't have salary cap problems.
I mean,
just a thought.
If you're asking me, yes, would I like to have Max Crosby? Yes, I would. I would take that. But that's going to be expensive. You're not trading a top 5 pick for that.
Over-unders. This is from Terrence. Mentions of Mac's revenge game and the 6 sacks he had against the Raiders. 1.5.
Yeah. he had more sacks that entire day than like the Bears D line has had the
But-
last 2 seasons.
But he's only had 1 sack in all the other games he's played this year.
Yeah.
There's Aiden O'Connell. This is Tyson Bagent. Well, maybe, but Bagent's a little bit more mobile than Aiden O'Connell.
I mean, I'll take the under. I think they maybe get 1 reference.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 reference. You'll get at least 2 Bears references or 3 Bears references of Khalil Mack's time. Then.
Sure. Now, like, what about references to that his first game with the Bears against the Packers back in 2018? Like, that would be a reference.
Yeah. It's Sunday Night Football, so you're going to have a few more graphics and storylines shared.
That was on Sunday Night Football too. That game.
See, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
From Juan Alvarez, references about Brandon Staley's tenure with the Bears, 2.5. I almost say slightly over a 3.
Oh, really? See, I think I'll take the under. I think it's
Just
it's like, yeah, he had a stop here. He was only the outside linebackers coach. But the reason why it comes up is because he coached Mac.
Yeah.
Here. So maybe 2.
There's a lot of revenge game candidates. Jay Rodgers, the Bears former defensive line coach, is there.
Yeah.
John Timu is Jay Rodgers' assistant.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I think Harry Heastand's son is on Brandon Staley's staff.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
The more you know. Those are
The more you
Kevin
know.
Fishbane fun facts.
The more you know. This is from Billy. Over under the number of times Secret Bagent Man is mentioned, not by Carm, but by the broadcasts. I think you'll at least have one. Like, I think they'll play the song at least once, right?
Yeah, they might.
Not the fan.
But Carm song. They should play Carm
No,
song.
no. The people turn off the TVs. TVs will just naturally like falter and break.
They might play the Swirsky song.
That was
Is that
good.
Dave Swirsky?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. But I feel like, you know what? You never know. Again, you get more in a Sunday night broadcast than you would other games. But I think you hear that tune at least once.
If they played Carm song on the broadcast, even if it was like 2 seconds of it, I mean, we would have to fire Carm because he would be insufferable for the
You
rest
would
of
be
life.
unable to work with the man. No, like just even this like seeing him. No, you're done. This is like we can't go on.
This is the peak. This is it.
This is it. Right off to the sunset, Carm. Just take it.
Oh, that would be great.
Number 2. This is from Brandon. Over under 2.5 and 20+ air pass yards. I'm assuming this is for Tyson Bagent. Will he go deep in this game?
2.5, 20+ air yard passes. I'm going to take the under. I do think he gets at least 1, though, maybe 2.
I'm thinking he takes 3 shots against his bad defense.
But do they connect?
Well, they're going to go 20+ yards in the air.
Oh, so they don't necessarily have to be completed.
Well, it's an open-ended question, I guess.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you're saying attempts of 20+ air yard passes, I would say over. I'm just not sure they're all going to be completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some sniper. Over under shots of crying Chargers lady, 1.5.
Oh, that'll be over.
Yes, way
Yeah.
over. Way over, especially if Tyson Bagent is playing like Secret Bagent Man.
Does she have to be crying, though? Wasn't she usually just screaming? She's like usually happy, right?
Yeah.
Or did I miss
But
that whole thing?
They're struggling.
But just her in general, I would say over.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do our picks for this game.
Bold predictions.
Sunday night, NBC 7:20. Bears at Chargers. 8.5 point spread. This spread's wild.
Didn't it start at 9.5?
It did.
Okay.
I thought it would come down more than that, though. But you got a bold prediction for us?
Yeah, I do. Someone tweeted me one, and I liked it because I'm trying to find. Here he is. This is from JF. Want to be the MVP somewhere else. Ooh, well, how about that for a Twitter handle? Over under Cole Kmet TDs 1.5. I'm taking the over. Now that'd be a bold prediction
Wow.
because Cole Kmet did not have a touchdown or even a catch last week.
Right.
I think by law, Illinois state law, I'm not allowed to make bold predictions about Cole Kmet anymore. I'm going to say Darnell Mooney, touchdown reception.
I tried this a few weeks ago. Did not go well. Okay. All right. I'm gonna say Roschon Johnson touchdown.
Ooh.
Because I think he comes back. And here's a quick thing I want to say about these running backs. I saw Finley.
You sound like you're about to throw one under the bus. Go ahead. I'm going to enjoy
Well,
that.
he wrote a story yesterday about how Deontay Foreman does not deserve to lose touches if Roschon Johnson comes back, which I generally agree with the premise. But here's why he probably will. Pass protection. Coaches care about pass protection. And as good as Deontay Foreman looked last week, although for the love of God, can you stay in bounds on that screen? Roschon Johnson is the best pass protecting running back on the roster.
Yeah.
He is going to be on the field when he comes back because of that. And I also, again, not trying to take anything away from Deontay Foreman, but how many running backs have we now seen in this offense the last 2 years? David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, Darrington Evans, Deontay Foreman. Am I missing anybody?
No.
That have looked good in this system. It's a good rush. It's a good rushing offense.
Great rushing offensive line.
Yes.
Well, that's why.
Well, but it's a scheme too. I think Getsy deserves credit for it. I think offensive line coach Chris Morgan deserves credit for it. So if I'm looking at it, like, especially if my right tackle isn't out there this week, which, I mean, hopefully he is, I'm going to want to add help. I'm going to probably want to play more snaps for my pass protecting running back. So anyway, long story short, I think he gets reps. I think Roschon Johnson scores a touchdown.
Okay.
That's my bold
Okay,
prediction.
bold.
All right, who you got in the game?
I think this matchup, just in terms of being a confidence builder, like for Tyson Bagent to take the next step, to hang in the pocket little bit longer, to find deeper shots or take those deeper shots. I think it's just a great matchup for Tyson Bagent, like himself. I think the Bears' offensive line will actually hold up quite well. I know what Daniel Popper said about that rush package they put in, but I think the ball will still be out quickly. He'll negate that. I think they'll be in favorable third downs because of their run game. I don't think Khalil Mack is the player we think he can still be. Same with Joey Bosa. I'm still not picking the Bears to win because they are on the road. I know it's a semi-home game. They still have Justin Herbert, and you have to take all things in consideration. Justin Herbert's the better quarterback. But I think the Bears can cover in this one. So I'm going to go 27-24 Chargers right now.
27-24. Yeah, I man, that's a lot of points all of a sudden, though, for this Bears defense, the way they've been playing.
That's a good point. And then the over-under on points, I think, is like 46.5. Let me go 24-21.
24-21. Here's why I'm struggling with this game so much, because the problem the Chargers have been having is winning some of these close games and closing them out. And I almost weirdly trust the Bears more in that situation. Although we really haven't seen it, right? The two Bears wins were not really in doubt. They blew the game against the Broncos. Well, I guess that would be the example where then they all of a sudden they needed a drive and they couldn't do it. But that was a different quarterback. I'm with you. Like, I think this line is outrageous. I think the Bears cover. But I think there's also a reason why it was set where it was. And as much as these Chargers are struggling, I think their roster overall is still more talented.
Yeah. And
there's going to be adjustments to Tyson Bagent made this week. Brandon Staley's not an idiot, at least as a defensive mind. It is weird that he hasn't gotten more out of his defense, but I think they find a way to do enough that the Chargers ultimately win this game. Similar range, because I don't see the Bears giving up a ton of points. But yeah, let's say like, what'd you say, 24-21?
Yeah.
I'll say 23-20.
So in that range.
Yeah.
My gut feeling says that Matty Eberflus's defense sooner than later is going to deliver like a signature performance for him where it's just outstanding in the pass rush.
And like more takeaways.
There'll be a couple. There's the takeaways. They come in bunches, and we saw some last week. But you'll see sacks. Like Jervon Dexter is going to have a sack and a half. DeMarcus Walker will get one. Like you'll see a game like that. I don't know if it's going to be this one. Could be the Saints. But I feel like it's coming because there's some good mojo there right now in that defense.
Yeah. All right. Johns has to run because life and things, and we have a short window to do this. He shared his picks with me, so I'm going to share his picks. Before you go though, there's a drop that we have to play that we have to talk about this because I cannot believe it hasn't been talked about. And it was going to be used in this segment. So I don't know who this guy is, but this was an actual question asked at a press conference. Is there a preference either way to having the hot guy coming from your backside or in front of you?
Oh man, Adam Hoge.
The most remarkable part of that, I'll play it one more time. Is there a preference either way to having the hot guy coming from your backside or in front of you? No one noticed it.
I
shouldn't say no one. I got one DM later in the day. I apologize for not having the name in front of me right now, but shout out to you. He's a Hoge Jahns listener. He's the one who pointed it out to me later in the day. No one in that media room noticed it. I don't even think Luke Getsy noticed it.
It's missing the Pat Finley. Huh?
Yeah. You're right.
From the meat smoker bit from a few years ago with Josh Sitton.
Who's the best meat smoker of your offensive line?
What do you mean by meat smoker?
That you're right. We need it. But even Pat didn't
That's
catch
what we're
it.
missing.
Pat's gotten a lot of play in this podcast, by the way.
He does. Read his stuff. ChicagoSunTimes.com.
Yeah. Yeah. So, here's the deal. Isolated, that sounds horrible. In the context of the I was asking a follow-up.
Are you just trying to explain yourself right now?
No, I'm explaining why no one noticed it. I'm embarrassed by it. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, man. It's still, it's good. It's pretty good, Adam Hoge, but still not as good as J.J. Stankovic's dialoguing's full conversation about growing packages and whatnot.
Well, that's true, which I have somewhere.
I mean, that was a back and forth for at least 4 or 5 minutes.
We're trying to expand his package.
Has he struggled with expanding his package?
I love that you and I, at the end of the day, could still be
teenage-year-olds,
boys at heart.
Yeah.
So the other day, I know I got to run. So the other day, my son and I are watching the playoff game. Who was playing? But the guy gets a hit and he runs down the line, and everyone in the dugout starts doing like a dance like this.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. And I don't even know if this is the context of it, but then
for those listening to the podcast, Johns just did something with his breasts.
Like but it was lower. But they were doing it lower, like they were juggling,
like the thing from Major League.
And that's what I thought about exactly.
The marbles. You have no marbles.
Yeah, and the guy's running down first base line saying, marbles, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
If Major League 2, I believe.
Yeah, that is Major League 2.
And he's, juggling his marbles, going to first base and stuff like that. That's what I thought of. So you speaking of 12-year-olds, I explained that scene to my son after seeing that on live television. And he is laughing now hysterically because he knows what marbles means. I got to go.
There you go. All right. Johns has to get
See
out
you
of
guys.
here. He did share his picks with me. We also have your voicemails to play because we quite frankly dropped the ball. Forgot to play them on Tuesday. So we'll go through the picks. So again, both of us on record as picking the Chargers in a close one, but Bears covering. 5 other games to pick as we always do. Fox, noon, Rams at Cowboys. Cowboys, this cannot be right. I think Johns has this in here wrong. He's got Cowboys as a 6.5 point dog. I'm assuming they're a 6.5 point favorite over the Rams. They got to be, right? I'm going to take I think I'm going to take the Rams to cover there. The Rams have been tough. I mean, Sean McVay has shown that he's still invigorated as a head coach. And they've been, I don't think Bill Simmons always talks about this thing like, who's the good, bad team? I think the Rams might be the good, bad team because I don't think they're very good, but they obviously still have a couple game-changing players on that roster, Aaron Donald being one of them, and they're hanging in there. Puka Nacua is unbelievable as his rookie wide receiver. So I think they make enough plays to cover, but I'm still going to have the Cowboys win that game.
The one word that stands out to me is complimentary football.
Oh, by the way, Johns has the Cowboys as well. All right. Fox noon also going up against that Rams-Cowboys game. I don't know. Used to be a big NFC North game. Both these teams not very good now. Vikings at Packers. This one was interesting because the Vikings played on Monday night, and when the lines came out Sunday after the Packers lost in Denver, the Packers were 2.5 point favorites, I believe, in this game. And I would have said, even in that moment, I'm like the wrong team's favorite here. The Vikings should be favored, even at Lambeau. And then, of course, the Vikings went out Monday night and beat the 49ers. Now, they are in a short week here. Letdown situation. Going to Lambeau. This is tricky spot. It's now a pick 'em. But guys, we talked about this all the time on the show. I think the Vikings have a big quarterback advantage here. Jordan Love has not been playing well. I don't think they have enough firepower offensively. This feels like a game where it's just like experience wins out. So in a pick 'em, I'm going to take the Vikings, and Johns also has the Vikings. So we agree on these first two picks.
Point is, those are some numbers.
All right. Also on Fox at noon on Panther Watch, right? For the number one pick that the Bears own, Texans at Panthers. You could say that this is maybe one of those games that the Panthers at home eke out. I think the Texans are maybe another one of those teams that's in the conversation as being one of those good, bad teams because they seem to be well coached. They're kind of playing better than they probably are overall from the roster standpoint. Shout out to CJ Stroud, off to a good start. Panthers are 3-point home dogs here. And it would not surprise me if this is a closer game, but really the Panthers haven't shown much indication that they're going to win these games. And the Texans, again, are well coached. Even if this is close early, I think ultimately the Texans win out. Johns agrees. So we're 3 for 3 agreeing on these games so far. Both of us taking the Houston Texans.
We are strong where we're strong right now, and we need to improve where we need to improve.
CBS 325. 49ers coming up back-to-back losses to the Browns. And the Vikings, they now host the Bengals. It's weird. I feel like these teams play every year somehow, even though they don't, but they definitely played like 2 years ago. 325, Bengals going 49ers. Bengals they're 3-3, and they're like right now look like the worst team in that very tough AFC North. 49ers are 5.5 point favorites here. However, Brock Purdy in the concussion protocol. Not sure he's going to play. Sam Darnold would be next guy up. I think the Bengals are better than the record shown so far. Obviously, they're dealing with some issues. Burrow's been banged up, but they're coming off a rest. I'm taking the Bengals here to at least cover that. Would not surprise me if they win as well. Ultimately, I think the 49ers probably take care of business at home. But 5.5 is too much, especially if Sam Darnold's going to end up playing quarterback, which we don't know at this point, but I'm going to take the Bengals.
The philosophy is a kill philosophy. Keep it likable and learnable. So that's an acronym for not You know what I'm talking about. Keep it likable and learnable.
Monday night, ABC, ESPN. I can't remember if I said this. John's also had the Bengals. So 4 for 4. But Monday night on ABC and ESPN, Monday Night Football, 7:15. Raiders at Lions. Interesting Monday night selection here. Not a great game, but I still think it should be entertaining. Of course, the Lions coming off that smacking last week that I definitely did not see coming. I thought the Lions would actually beat the Ravens. I did not understand why they were underdogs in that game. Well, I guess we learned a hard way. Maybe that's foreshadowing to this Bears-Chargers line. But the Lions got killed. They're coming back home. Obviously, we saw the Raiders. So the Raiders, if they didn't show up in Chicago last week, didn't really seem like they wanted to be there. Now they got to fly all the way back to this area and play the Lions. Lions are 8-point favorites. I think it continues to go downhill for the Raiders. I think this is a get-right game for the Lions. They take care of business, and they ultimately cover that 8-point spread as well. John's also has the Lions. That does not happen a lot, but all 5 picks, we are in agreement here. Cowboys, Vikings, Texans, Bengals, and Lions as we make our picks for the week. We have to get to our voicemails as well, which we forgot to play on Tuesday. Definitely not going to go through the week without playing your voicemails. So here they are, your voicemails from the Bears win over the Raiders.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Hoge Jahns at Bay, Bob Dabrowski calling in here live from Soldier Field. The Bears are about to take on the Oakland Raiders. They're going to play football. There's going to be some offense. There's going to be defense. There's going to be special teams. There's going to be all of the above. More than likely, one of the teams will win and one of the teams will lose. And then they'll do it again next week. Go Bears.
All right, we're 2 minutes away from kickoff. I just know this is some BS game. The Bears are going to somehow win. I'm completely bought in. Greg Braggs and Mark Carman talked me into it. Bear down. 21-16 Bears. 2-5. Justin comes back. We win next week. We're 3-5. Let's go. This is pre-game.
Hey guys, I'm here and I'm ready to be hurt again. But if I'm hurt again, I'm not going to watch the rest of the season.
Holy cow. Tremaine Edmonds just picked off Brian Hoyer. Bears defense is back. Matt Eberflus is back. Is Tyson Bagent a guy? If the Bears win this game, this is going to be a hard week to be a Bears fan and a Justin Fields fan. Bear down.
Tyson Bagent, the reincarnation of Tony Romo.
You know, I've been playing Madden since 1988, and it's taught me clock management. What the at halftime?
Hey, Hoge Jahns. Man, it's B-Man. I gotta say, this year has grizzled me. I've aged 43 years in the past 6 weeks. Here we are at halftime. Bears are up 14-3, which is good, but does this mean a quarterback controversy is going to happen? I just don't know how much I can take.
I guess Justin Fields should be scared for his job right now. This undrafted rookie from a D2 is balling.
There's no way I just saw what I just saw. The Bears defensive lineman with a sack, especially an interior defensive lineman. Who are these people?
Pick 6 by JJ. It's about time number 33 got an interception and a touchdown. Nice. 31-6. Can't get any better than this.
I can't believe it. Jalen Johnson got a pick 6. Fantastic. Great game. Bear down.
Hoge Jahns. It's Whiskey Coke time. And a cheers to Jalen Johnson and the pick 6, ending the Bears' losing streak at home. I saw you, Jalen, making it rain after the score. What a game. Proud of Bagent. I'm in the Bagency. What about you, boys? Bear down.
I can't think of a more Bears thing than possible than have our undrafted D2 QB come in, guns blazing, and screw up the tank commander job. I hate this team.
What's up, Hogue? What's up, Johns? Ryan from Portland, Oregon. I have a little tradition when the Bears win. I play the fight song and take a victory shot at my Lord. It's been a long time since that's happened, and it was so sweet today. Bear down.
And just like that, we have a quarterback controversy.
Man, B-Man, getting old on us real quick. That was a good voicemail. Enjoyed that very much. Also enjoyed Bob's breakdown of how football works. Very well done. That reminded me, I need to give my own dad a shout out because I forgot to mention this on 2 different podcasts now. But 9:26 a.m. on Sunday, my dad texted me and said, I think the Bears are going to do a very Bears thing today. I think they're going to blow away the Raiders when nobody expects them to win. So he didn't just have the Bears winning. He correctly called that they were going to basically blow them away, which is essentially what happened. The Bears were in control the whole time. He said, luckily, I'm in a state where DraftKings doesn't work, so I can't waste my money. He was in Minnesota visiting my sister, so he couldn't actually place a bet on the game. Too bad. Otherwise, he could have bet the Bears on the money line, gotten it right. Here's what last thing I want to say before we get out of here and we go into this game against the Chargers. Just a little piece of advice. You can fan and root for whoever you want, however you want. Just enjoy it. That's all I'm saying is whoever the players are that are on the field for this game, you want them to play well. At least I would think you would. So whether it's Tyson Bagent or, God forbid, Nathan Peterman has to come to the game at some point to throw a Hail Mary. Like, you should, if you're getting mad because of Bagent having success because of what it could potentially mean for Justin Fields, like, just enjoy the fact that for a game, the Bears have good quarterback play. 2 good quarterbacks would be better than 0. And we don't know that that's what Tyson Bagent is yet, but it's a heck of a story. I tweeted it out last night. I retweeted Robert Griffin's tweet from a story he did on Bagent going back to the draft. I highly recommend checking it out. Just enjoy it while it's here. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. When Fields is healthy, he's going to come back and play. And then at that point, quite frankly, it's up to him because he's going to be the starter. And if he continues to play like he did a few weeks ago with back-to-back really good performances, then he's going to remain the starter. And then if he struggles, then that's where the quarterback controversy starts. So, we'll see if the Bears can pull off a win. If Bagent plays well again, it'll be great. And yes, on Monday morning, every single show, including this one to some extent, we'll be talking about a little bit of Bagent versus Fields, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a controversy until Fields comes back. And then again, it's kind of up to him, but he's not playing this week. So just enjoy whatever Tyson Bagent is able to do. And maybe the Bears can go into LA and get a win against the Chargers. All right, we're out of here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Adam Hogue, at Adam Johns. You can follow the show at Hoge Jahns. Please go to HoganJahns.com. You can see all our merch. Awesome stuff out there. Joe Johnson from Obvious Shirts. The whole crew over there, Devin, everyone, appreciate you guys. Do such a good job. Quick turnaround, and they're great partners to work with. So go show them some love too. Of course, all of our stuff is at HoganJahns.com. It's all courtesy of Obvious Shirts, but you can go to ObviousShirts.com too and find all their awesome merch for all the teams and even some lifestyle shirts and things like that. They got good stuff as always, so make sure you go show them some love as well. All right, we're out of here. We'll be back on Sunday night, probably late, for a post-game show. Bears, Chargers. We'll see if the Bears can win 2 in a row. Is that possible? We'll find out. Talk to you then.